Hello there. I am Darth Paradigm. I have another review for you guys. This is a neopixel saber from Crimson Dawn called the Osprey. And this hilt is 12 inches long. And it is predominantly matte black finish with, it has some, what do you want to call these things? There's kind of like inset silver rings, kind of like inlays. And one of the things I really like about this hilt is I like how the emitter section with the S curve is very, very thick material. So you know it can take hits, and then it just kind of cuts away, and then it gets thin right here in this cool little choke point. And then you have your recharge port here, and your backlit AV switch, and a lot more rings, so you get like a nice tactile feel. It's kind of like you get tactile, and you get more tactile, and then you get to this section where the windows are, and the windows aren't sharp, so you don't have to worry about cutting yourself on the windows. You've got two blade retention screws, one on each side to hold the neopixel blade firmly in place. It has a 36-inch blade that comes with it standard. I would prefer a 32, but I don't have one currently to spare. So eventually I'll probably throw one into this hilt, and then it'll be a much more balanced affair. You know, because this is a very, as you can see, it's a very long hilt, and right now the balance point's about there, which is, you know, a little bit too far forward. So it's kind of a heavy thing, but that's mostly due to the blade. The blade itself is really good quality blade. Nothing rattles around inside the blade. It seems like a very thick wall. I like the finishing on the tip. The real selling point to this blade is it doesn't have any LED blemishes. There's no blank spots in here, which really kind of amazes me for, you know, relatively inexpensive economy saber to come with such a good quality blade. I'd be inclined to buy these blades and throw them into some of my you know, more expensive neopixel sabers. I might even try it at some point, because the connector is the same, so it should work perfectly well. You get to here, you get your shroud, and the inlays continue. There's little tactile, you know, groovy points. So this is obviously, you know, it's long enough that you can two-hand this bad Larry, and it's very comfortable. There's nothing that's gonna really grate too much on your hand. The finishing of this thing is just, it's immaculate. And I mean, I've said this in previous videos. Some of the hilts that are redistributed by LG Toys, you know, they go to certain companies, and for some reason they just don't seem the highest quality control. The finishing just isn't there. But on every single hilt that I've acquired from Crimson Dawn, all the threading, the fitting, nothing is loose, nothing rattles, there's no blemishes. The paint's perfect. The inlay, I mean, it's literally perfection, and I don't quite know how they do it. But anyway, getting back to it. So you've got the shroud, has these cutaways of varying widths, with the main one here where your palm's going to rest. And so it kind of gives you like the finger grips here, and then your thumb or your palm can go down here. It's really kind of nice. And here's the what I really like about this hilt is you can see the pommel is closed off, and it just has side vents, and the effect of that is the sound goes off to the side. So instead of it coming out the back and kind of, usually it's going away from you or down or at an angle, with the vents like this, you tend to get more of a pronounced sound out of the saber. So that definitely does work wonders there. Flaws. Well, this saber does utilize a variant of it's not the Crack of Dawn V4. They just called the V4. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but it's just a V4 soundboard. The soundboard, I'm told from one of the representatives from Custom Dawn, actually originated from Custom Darkwolf sabers, and the saber does not remember the blade color and the blade effect that you have selected. When you put the saber into deep sleep mode, it will reset to what's essentially a pale blue and no flicker, which I will show you right now. Very, very pale blue. Well, I consider it pale blue under certain lights. It's actually, under this light, it looks more of a white. So if you're an Ahsoka Tano fan, no big deal. With the neopixel blade, you get your blaster blocks. It's not localized, it's just general. And you also get your lockup effect, clash, and swings. Now, other than that, the soundboard works pretty much identical to all the other Crimson Dawn soundboards that you've experienced. You have your 6 sound fonts, you have your 3 volumes, high, low, and mute, and you also have your 3 blade effects. You can either have a stable blade, unstable blade, or pulse. Now, here's the other thing that I've noticed on this hilt. Sometimes the wording for whether you're selecting stable, unstable, or pulse doesn't match the effect. So what I find I do is I just cycle through the effects until I get the desired one. And when you have your desired blade color, font, and effect, you pretty much need to leave the saber on for the duration of, if you're going to be doing cosplay or if you're dueling or whatever you're doing and you want those preferred settings, you have to not put the saber into deep sleep mode, because you will have to reset all your settings again when you wake it up. I think it remembers the font, but that's just about it. So you have, first of all, your volumes.
Softest sound.
Softest sound.
No sound.
No sound.
Loud sound.
And loud sound. And we'll do the blade effects. Hold it for 2 seconds.
Unstable.
I think that said unstable. So yeah, it actually matched up. So you have your unstable.
Stable.
Stable. See, it says stable, but that's actually pulse. So that's something you have to watch out for. So by process of elimination, pulse is stable. So that's just how it is. Anyway, as far as the fonts go, it's the requisite same 6 fonts that you find on the Crack of Dawn V4.
The force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
I actually think this is a Luke font. I don't think this is a Vader font. I think the jury's still out because the sound is sort of, it's muddy enough. It's really hard to tell, what you're hearing here.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
So is Kylo. That's quite obviously a Kylo Ren sound font. While we have Kylo Ren selected, let's just get a nice red blade with a unstable effect going on. So you hold it for 2 seconds, or 2 flashes of the button, and then once you get your 2 flashes, you hold it, and it goes into color changing mode. So there we go, we've got a red. Once you get the color that you want, just hit the button and it'll lock it in. There you go. I'm not gonna make you suffer through that. It's
Stable.
it's as jarring for me as it is for you. So we'll just leave it on the pulse. And the reason I want to leave it on the pulse, and I'm gonna go into the color changing again. Watch what happens to the blade once it starts changing color. So you go 1, 2. See how the pulse turns off, and it just gives you a nice stable effect, so that when you're going through your colors, it's not quite as confusing. Makes it easier to select what you want. I'm gonna try for one of my new favorite colors here, which comes right up. It's not quite what I wanted. What are we gonna go with? And we'll just stay with blue here. Alright, so the other fonts.
You have something I want.
I always forget his name. Moth. Gideon. Ah, see, I got it. That's a very jarring font. Now, with the next font,
I'm Cal Kestis.
watch what the blade does. Just focus on the blade when I turn it on. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. You see what it did? It started as one color. It started as green, and then it immediately went to blue. Now, I thought that was an affectation of the RGB effect on the Hilt LED versions of Crimson Monsters, but I actually carried over to the neopixel. I mean, mind you, this is a neo strip in here. This is rather an LED strip in here, and it pretty much emulated the same effect that you get from the regular LED version, the 9-watt LED version of these Hilts. So I think that's pretty cool, actually. So it's actually an affectation of the board, not so much kind of a trick that the RGB just naturally does. I think it's intentional. And you'll see it. Let's see. Let's turn this off. We'll set it to another color. Something a little bit more of a mix. Let's try that. Okay, so I got it on kind of the pink right now. Now let's see what happens when I turn it off. When I turned it on, it went from blue to pink. Didn't really do anything when it retracted. You see that? That little blue to pink? I like that. Now the transition where the blade extends and retracts, it's different depending on the blade effect that you choose. The pulse actually retracts and then just kind of pops. It just kind of lights up.
Pulse.
So this is probably stable. So it's stable. You can see on stable. Let's see if we're getting far enough back. It retracts and it extends. It actually goes up the blade. Now it doesn't do that on pulse. On pulse it just kind of pops and it's on. So that's one of the advantages to keep it on stable. And then for unstable, again, it just kind of turns on, just kind of pops on. It retracts, but it actually turns off the unstable effects of the unstable effect goes to a stable and then it retracts. So there's a bunch of mixing going on there.
Stable.
All right. So I think that was Calicestus.
Ben Solo.
Now you have Ben Solo. You've heard all these fonts before, and I've demonstrated them so many times that I'm just kind of, this is what you're going to get.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
And this is the last of the fonts. This would be your standard Ray font. So this doesn't really sound too different than the font that Darth Vader introduces. So that's why I'm inclined to think that font is a Luke font, because it sounds very similar to this. And I mean, technically it's the same hilt. Whether you agree with me or not. Because when he spoke those lines, it was in Empire, and he still had the same hilt from the first movie, which is technically the movie that Rey, the hilt that Rey has. Yeah, so I mean, you can see why it sounds similar. So that kind of backs up my theory. Anyway, so once you get the font that you want, say that I really want to keep the Rey font selected. You can't really, like I say, you can't keep the blade effects. You can't keep the LED color or the blade color. But I think in theory you should be able to keep the sound font set to the sound font that you want, because if you were to just turn the saber off now, it's actually going to select the next sound font in the group, and then it's going to, and then when you turn it on, it's going to be set to the font that you don't want. So what you do is you turn the saber on, and you hold the button, and after it turns off, you're going to continue to hold it until it goes into deep sleep mode, and then we'll test my theory.
Power off.
I could very well be wrong. I expect to be, actually.
Power on.
I think that's the same font. What do you think? Is that the same font? One way to find out. Because if that was the Rey font, the next one should be the Vader font.
The force is with you, young.
Alright. So you can save your font, but you can't save your blade color, you can't save your effects. So just be aware of that. When you buy one of these sabers, you're going to be doing a lot of resetting, and you're going to be very flexible with your blade colors, because if you get that ideal blade color that you want, you're going to constantly be resetting it, and you're going to find yourself going with just a basic primary instead of some kind of weird secondary color. But overall, I mean, it's a minor thing it's a minor sacrifice to make to have yourself a fairly inexpensive, economical neopixel saber of this quality. The hilt is top-notch quality. The blade is top-notch quality. The board needs some work. Now, I'm told, by my friends at Crimson Dawn, that they are actually they have a board of their own in the works. I don't know what it's going to do, what its capacities are. It could do anything at this point. I really don't know. We didn't get that far in our discussions. He was just sort of catching up with me, answering some questions I had regarding this hilt, and basically, the little issues with the blade color selecting and whatnot. And if you've been paying attention to their website, you received an email. If you're signed up to receive their updates, they have a new hilt, and they just added 4 neopixel sabers. They've got let me see, what did they add? They have a Graflex, they have a Fallen saber, maybe a Vader. I can't remember what all 4 of them are. I'm really tired. So definitely worth checking out. And so, I mean, for the price that you pay for these, they actually, full disclosure, they sent me this saber as a piece to review for your benefit. So thank you, Crimson Dawn, for your generosity. I definitely really enjoy this saber quite a bit. As with all of the Crimson Dawn hilts or the LG Toys hilts, these are their components. They unthread here, they unthread here, the pommel unthreads, and of course there's a chassis in here with a lithium-ion 18650 battery. Pretty robust speaker. I find that the speaker on here, if I'm not mistaken, was, yeah, it's a pretty decent 28mm speaker. So it's a fairly large speaker, and as you probably noticed, the saber's pretty loud, and yeah, I quite like it. The only thing, like I said, that sort of is a detriment to me is the blade length. I can't condone a 36-inch blade. I just hate them. Anything longer than 32 inches is just too long, unless you're dealing with like a flamberge or something like that, or a crossguard saber, and any crossguard saber. I mean, if it's a saber that's meant to be kind of a field weapon where you're striking down swaths of enemies, then obviously you're going to need a very long blade. But for finesse and dueling, I prefer something small, lithe, easy to manipulate, and this is just a little bit too heavy. But the hilt is marvelous, and I will get a new blade for this thing eventually. So I've rambled on, so I'm just going to give you the final visual tour of this hilt. And there you have it. So that's the Crimson Dawn neopixel Osprey. So, if you have any questions regarding this saber, please hit me up in the comments, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. And I'll put a link I'll eventually put a link to Crimson Dawn directly to this hilt if you're inclined to purchase that from them. So you can, if you have any questions that I can't answer, you can go ask them. They're very friendly. Their customer service is phenomenal. Their shipping times are almost non-existent. You can't go wrong with Crimson Saber, despite what some people out there might think. For those of us who don't always have the means to buy the most expensive sabers on the market, this is a very fine outlet if you're just looking for a a really good quality saber that's not going to let you down, and it looks good. And I think Crimson Dawn's just been doing an amazing job. So that being said, I'm gonna ask you to subscribe to my channel. Hopefully you're gonna grace me with your presence pretty soon. Hopefully I'll hit 1,000, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do. I literally don't know what I'm gonna do. I work too much, and yeah, I don't get to think about what I'm gonna do on my channel. I just basically make videos and let you look at them and decide whether you like it or dislike it, and then click the appropriate button. Basically, that's about the extent of what I do. So on that bombshell, I'm gonna bid you guys a good eve, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a wonderful holiday Labor Day weekend. Go please have some fun. Please have some fun. The world is just it's a hot mess right now. So take care of yourselves. Love hard, play hard, and I will catch you guys next time. Y'all have a good evening, and well, bye.